Welcome to the Intentional Success Podcast, where we unpack the top strategies, explore business trends, and drill down into best practices to help your live events production business grow and scale on purpose. I'm your host, Tom Stimson. All right, I want to welcome my guest today, Bob Huskey, who's president and CEO of Evolve Technology. And I know Bob's been in the industry for 100 million years, but I got to ask you, welcome. Thank you for being here. Hey, what was your first gig?
That first gig was walking in the wrong door in 1986. I was freshly out of tech school for service and repair and thought I knew it all and parked my car and walked in a door, and I walked into the rental department at a company called Bloomberg Communications. And by the time I figured out it was the wrong door, they were hiring in rentals and service at the time, and rentals paid $1 an hour or more, and it sounded like a lot more fun. And that's where it all went wrong or good after that.
So you walked right into a full-time gig, and what was your first show site experience like?
Oh, well, those were the mid 80s when multi-image was king, and I had no idea what I was doing, and they drugged me along, and I think the first show I set foot on was a 16 by 48 foot screen and 24 or 36, I think it was 36 projector multi-image blended, event. And I just stood there in awe, just saying, wow. You had no idea these things existed when you were, in your 18, 19 and fresh out of school and from a small town in west central Minnesota. It was just like foreign to me. But man, it sure did kick my proverbial butt and make me realize that I made a perfectly good mistake, and I'd be and loved what it was from that point forward.
Man, I love how many of us accidentally found ourselves in a room full of stuff that we didn't know existed, doing something we'd never seen before, and said, "I want to do more of this."
Absolutely.
So here we are, 30 plus years later, and we're still in awe of the things that we can do.
It still gives me tingles every time you walk into an empty ballroom and the show setup begins. And it's the gear, the technology is cool, but man, it's the people for me personally. I spent a lot of years going around the country, around the world doing live events, but it was the people in the room working with you that kind of always been my adrenaline junkie fix of working with people and making something unbelievable happen.
Yeah. And you can have a lot of fun with the right people doing low tech things extremely well.
That's right.
I agree with you. It's all about the people. That's what makes this industry great. But hey, it's okay to have some gear too, because gear is fun and it's sexy, and it does pay the bills.
What keeps us coming. It keeps what makes you come to work some days is because that new thing is showing up, or it's sitting in the office, burning a hole in your pocket, wanting to be turned on and played with.
Right. So let me ask you, here we are in fall of 23, the pandemic is almost a distant memory, but we can't stop comparing life to 2019. How do you feel? Are we back to normal again? Is this a new normal? Or is this business as usual? How do you characterize what we're at?
I think we need to stop saying the pre-pandemic. Well, hey, we're back to pre-pandemic levels, or we're better than or the pandemic. We keep bringing it up. I think we all realize that was a travesty for the entire country, the world. It certainly impacted our industry completely and wholeheartedly. But I feel that we came out of 21. 22 kicked off, and it turned into a record-setting month after month after month. Everybody was pent up. Everybody needed to get out, and they had their money, in pocket. They were ready to spend, so they did some massively cool events, got their people together, and I think if you didn't have a record-setting 22, you probably didn't prepare properly during the pandemic to be ready to come out of it.
If you missed out on revenge meetings,
that's absolutely correct.
2020,
and if you thought you'd have a nice summer in 22, you were woefully mistaken, because they jammed all of those events back in and filled up your summer months as well. So I think that was a welcome back year. 23, I think, held that for the first quarter. And then we started seeing the settle, back into normal scheduling. I think everyone needs to remember that our rental industry, now there are events, there's festivals, there's things that happen during the summer, but most of the large corporate events pack it in because they know their presidents, CEOs, all their big hitters, everybody in the company. It's supposed to be kids are out of school, we're on vacation, it's holiday time. So I think people that maybe overestimated what their June, July, August would be, we're still hoping for that continuation of what 22 was. But I feel right now we're back in the steady stream. Events are in the books. We're seeing a solid into Q3, beginning Q4. We're going to be busy. The events are happening. It's going to keep working. 24, man, everything going on. The financial institutions seem to have settled down a little bit. It's not as bad as it was 6 or 8 months ago, but it's still lingering out there, and you hear the recession is still reaching its peak and things are going on. And then you got the elections coming up. And I think we've all learned election years are great if you're a AV staging event company that works in the government field side doing, the campaigns and the events that are tied around it. But I think we're going to see more of a flat move into 24. Still good. The business is going to be there. The live events are going to be going on, but it's not going to be a ramp up anymore. I think we hit our stride. We need to maintain where we are and keep your business focus on keeping your clients you have and going out and finding those couple of new gems that'll be future and good clients.
Yeah, well, great point. Yeah, now is not the time to expect folks to just call you, waiting for the phone to ring sort of thing. It's like you've got to put some steady effort out there because as business levels settle into a normal cycle, now we're back into a competitive mode, and there's more people going after the same business. So you've got to put some energy into that. It's not just going to happen. So what do you think that your clients, my clients, so the production companies, production rental companies, what are they better at now? What have we learned?
I think that what we saw coming out of the pandemic is some people, not everyone, but some people really took advantage of it to evaluate their focus and where their specialties lie. And I'm not saying that, everyone's a boutique. There are full service AV event staging companies out there that do sound lighting and video of the scenic, everything really well. But I think that I'm seeing more companies really figured out where their specialties lie and what they can excel at, and they invested in it. We saw a lot of people when the purse strings were open and they were able to start buying some technology to better suit their avenues. I think that their ability to recognize where they can guide a client to. It's not just, purse strings open, let me just throw the whole world at you. They really have started to work on focusing on, be it an LED technology or be it projection or the mappings, but offering a service that they can support versus faking it, I guess is what I would use.
That's an interesting point. I think, so what I'm hearing you say is that we've chosen to be better at certain things and show our client how to use those things rather than figuring out what the client wants and rushing over and being an expert at that. If I'm an expert at this, if you go to a surgeon, the answer is going to be surgery. If you go to an LED supplier, they're going to show you how to use LED properly. So we've seen a lot of cycles, and back in '86, AV companies were all basically full service, and of course nobody did lighting, right? But otherwise you were full service, and then we saw the advent of specialist companies that did just corporate work or just did high-end video or high-end audio, and we had the era of specialization, and then we had the consolidation. Are we just in another cycle? Are we going to cycle back into specialized companies being more valuable again?
If I could have it my way, I was a child and I was an AV guy of the 80s, if you will, and there were a lot of boutiques, and I'll bring up the cursed name of Carabiner, but they hired a audio specialist and a lighting company that was a specialist, and your multi-image or video was specialist, and scenic. They brought the teams together and they hired the best in each industry.
Right.
And Tyler got me to come to Evolve when he used the word boutique.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I want to be a boutique video rental company of high-end technology. He said, I want to own the gear that nobody else can afford or they don't want to put their CapEx into. Is how he built the business around. And I think that it doesn't hurt to have those companies out there to then support better the companies that are just throwing the full service out there, but they need the support of those specialists, those technology companies.
Right. Yeah. When I started at Alfred Media back in '91, we were projection. It was slide projection, video projection. We were visual specialists. That was our boutique. And you're right.
Yep.
Producers like Carabiner and Jack Morton, all them, brought in specialists for each department, and you'd go do a big show, and there'd be 5 other major companies there.
Right.
And
I think the live event companies now need to realize if they are not the true experts in a particular part of the field, to partner with somebody, be it a TD or an expert, have somebody that you can go to and talk and let them be involved in that front end so that you're offering the best possible products to the client. That's where I think that the some of the lacking is that people are just getting by. They're offering what's needed to get by, not to excel at.
And so what I'm hearing you say, and I agree, is start to be an expert at doing shows, not an expert of doing shows your way.
Right. True point. True point. It's a hard pill for some people to swallow, though. But we all have to own it. We all have to say, I am not I can plan an event. I can tell you what you need for video, audio, and lighting. Can I make audio sound good? Absolutely not. I've got dead ears. Can I design a lighting rig to make it go wow? No, absolutely not. I don't have that skill set. So you bring the people together that can offer you to make sure you are offering the expertise. Right.
So speaking of technology, what are the technology shifts or trends that you're seeing now that we have money to buy stuff again?
All right. Well, I think that everyone would have to obviously acknowledge the pandemic certainly brought LED to the forefront. And coming out of the pandemic, there was some massive LED projects going on. And I think if you're not offering a solid solution in a 2-point-something res down into the 1-point-something res, you're not doing your client a proper service. Sometimes they don't need that resolution. They don't need a 1.9 mil when they're in a huge auditorium and their people are 50 feet away. Another product will work. But LED certainly owned 21, 22, and into 23. But now we're seeing that move back to projection. It's got to be 4K. The HD days are out there. There's clients who will still accept it. But we invested in 4K when 4K wasn't cool. A lot of companies did it as well, but you weren't able to capture the return. But now I think you're going to find everybody realizes 4K isn't a myth. It isn't a ghost you can't obtain. Everything you need from front end, generation of 4K signal, the signal processing, the signal transmission, and the LED walls and projectors able to ingest it and put it back up for you there. I'm feeling like projection is getting a little bit more love again than it was 12 months ago.
Interesting. So we've the reports of projections death are premature.
Yes. We just did a complete revamp. I just bought 60 new 20Ks because that's how we live and breathe, is to sell and remarket. But we decided the demand is there. So I think that everybody, you can buy all the LED you want. It's heavy, it's cumbersome, it's a space hog in your warehouse. It's a labor intensive, project. And the end users are starting to realize they don't want to spend as much money or as much build time or as much content creation as LED requires. So they're shifting back into that projection solution. And I think that you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet.
Good news. Good news. Good news for the projection manufacturers anyway.
Good. And good news for those people that are projectionists as well.
Well, yeah, I could not. LED was new when I still knew how to do projection, and I just couldn't grasp it. There wasn't enough art in it for me. It was too much
Good point.
engineering. But that's not to say there's not artistry involved, but it just wasn't the art I was good at, which was color matching screens on CRTs. But once again, we date
You're
ourselves.
dating yourself, Tom.
Yeah, indeed. So let's talk a little bit more about the live event community. These production companies that you and I grew up with and deal with all the time.
Right.
When I talk to outsiders looking in at this world, particularly other consultants that I work with, or people who are peripheral to the industry associations, whatever, they see a lot of fragmentation. They see, all these companies that say they do the same thing, but they have different processes or don't really seem to be standards and best practices for things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of channel confusion, right? There's a lot of people not understanding who an end client is, who an agency is, who a B2B partner is. What do you think is the biggest opportunity we have to professionalize or increase the professionalism of the event production business?
Well, I think that, everyone does understand that. I mean, we'll use an A, B, C from a client standpoint, the end user. There's an A, B, and C level client out there. The A level expect perfection. They expect to be worked with and fed information and be involved in the process and the planning and getting to the end result. And then the C levels are clients that they just want to be able to see it, hear it, understand it, and have the event and move on. There's not a high demand. But I think across the board, if you really want to be a player in the industry, especially in the live event staging side, you've got to build up a solid SOP of how you handle from inquiry, the bid process, putting out a quality product in the bid so the client knows what they're going to get, and then have that staffing and infrastructure, i.e., whether it be your software platform you're using or the build of your business so that you have the resources to properly work from bid through drawings, through equipment scheduling, through on-site delivery and the technical staff on site. You have to put that in place and don't wing it. The days of, and I hate to use the term because I'm not an audio guy, but fix it in the mix, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people show up on gig site and they just throw a bunch of stuff in the truck and say, it'll be fine. We'll make it work when we get there. Those days, I think, need to be gone, and people need to get on board with really putting the advanced time in and planning the event, getting ahead of the curve on what you got to buy or what you need to rent to make sure you're not picking up what happens to be available at the time. You need to be the first one grabbing the gear when you know that you're going to need it. All of those advanced prop work make the on-site part so much easier and cleaner for you and the client.
Right. And it means that project management doesn't have to be a hero and fix it in the ballroom.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. That's what I used to be called slash. It was a term that one of my freelancers gave me because I was the project manager slash, truckloader slash video guy slash scenic guy slash. You did everything because you had to, because you were fixing it. Mm-hmm. You were making it work because it didn't go as you originally had planned. It never goes perfectly.
Right.
But yeah, the time on the front end gives you a better result in a product on the back end and makes your company look crucial to your client, not just acceptable to the client.
Excellent. I mean, that dovetails right in to what I've been teaching, as we say, post-pandemic, is that scalable companies put more energy into that planning process and make the role of project management, they spread it out over the right people instead of having 5 project management specialists that are each individually carrying a job through the system and then going out on show site and fixing everything that they forgot to do. So you have people who are really good at planning. Let them plan every show, put the right lead techs out in the field, hand them a complete event. I think we're talking the same language here.
Yeah, it's I guess I would just use the word professional. Be professional. You're selling your professional services. Act and treat your client professionally and give them what they deserve.
Right. It's more that, the process matters. It's not just the end result. We're going to pull off a show. How we get there makes a difference. Right. And it makes a bigger difference to your customers than you realize, because once they go to a company that has their act together, they go, well, gosh, our shows used to go well, but this was easier.
Right. Yeah. You lose that client forever at that point.
Exactly. So how has Evolve been responding to the changes in the industry? Where do you feel that you're making the most impact? And is there something on the horizon that you see coming?
I think the biggest thing we've been able to do in the last year to year and a half is kind of to regain our foothold on the technical expertise. Because we're supposed to be Evolve is where you call when you need a high-end solution and support on a high-end video project. So building your team and is what we have done is to get the experts, make sure that we have the best in LED and like a George Ray, and Bob Murdoch is a blessing to any company that ever would have him.
Yeah.
Eli, our team, and Omar, who set this all up for us, right? And Joaquin. And so we've built a team up to offer the clients the expertise. Pick up the phone and call us, whether you're renting from us right now or not. Let us help you. And ideally, we gain your trust to then rent from us. Gear is gear. The fact that I own an RQ25, well, guess what? There's a lot of RQ25s in the United States. Do we take better care of them? Maybe. I think so. Are you going to get a better product? I think so. But it's the ability to support our clients from an expertise standpoint, because that is a gap in the industry right now. Is a lot of people left in the last 3-4 years. A lot of people that were experts and who in your go-to are now selling real estate or doing something with a lot less stress in their life. So if you don't have that in place, you need somebody to lean on for that. And I think that's where we have really refocused our energies at.
Excellent. So it kind of makes me think about the issue of the overall. I find there's an overall lack of a central community for live events. I mean, we don't have a central gathering point. What are your thoughts? I mean, what's the solution to this? How important is it for us to get out of our bubble and network together?
To me, it's the only reason I am where I am today. Plain and simply is because that's what I was good at. And what I maybe people say that I talk too much or I share too much information, but at every company I was with, we did very well for ourselves. And I did very well, but by finding your peers and feeling free to communicate with them, you don't have to give away company secrets, but share information and learn. Your events that you do are key to the industry because it gives people a chance to sit down next to their peers and talk and share their struggles, what they're succeeding at. Now, you don't, like I said, I don't give away the company secrets, but there is no secret about doing it well and organizing. So talking about what rental platform you're using and why you like it or don't like it, talking about the trucking that you're doing, or talking about everything you're involved in to each other, you'll find ideas, and sharing that information to me is crucial. We can't have a conglomerate. You can't have insider trading going on and say, hey, I'm bidding on that show, so are we. Let's all hold the line. That's not cool. It's not allowed. You shouldn't do that. Excuse me. You shouldn't do that. But giving yourself a chance to move outside of your circle and meet other people. From the days of Infocom in the 80s and 90s when I went to programs, Andre Lejeune was a brilliant instructor, and I've been to more of his classes than I did probably teachers I did in high school, right? But it gave you a chance to meet those other people that were in your industry, and you build a bond and a friendship that you can take with you and expand your circle. We're a big business that's very small.
I think, going to a networking event and meeting other owners or your peers in whatever job you do, every best practice from your company that you share, you're going to get 5 back.
Exactly.
I mean, the ROI on networking is huge, and I think it's up to us. And And while I do my small part to create events like Jumpstart, which I thank Evolve for being a sponsor of, we've got as an industry find a better way to make networking accessible to more people. Because if we're going to get the professionalism that you aspire for us, I don't see any other way to do it. We've got to talk to each other.
Right. There's no downside to it. People think that, well, it'll slip. People know who my clients are. If they want to know, it's easy enough to find out. It's everybody talks, everybody knows. So don't be afraid that you're going to lose business. It's the only way you're going to gain business and gain capabilities and grow yourself and your business is to be out there talking and meeting with those peers that are your counterparts. They might be your competition.
Sure.
But in a year or two, you may be working together.
That's true.
Don't burn any bridges.
And honestly, there aren't that many secrets that anybody needs to keep.
That's right. You might think you're the only one doing it, but trust me, you're not.
You're
somebody
not.
else is doing it.
Yeah. And as my old boss used to say, I said, I'm happy to tell you how we do things. I defy you to do it better than me. So
there you go.
There you go.
Well, you got to back up your business, right?
You back up your business. Exactly. Well, Bob, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate you and your history and everything that you and Evolve are doing for the industry. Thanks for being here.
We appreciate it, Tom. It's always a pleasure, and I did see you've been an asset and a partner for many, many years. We might have actually worked together, but we go back a long ways, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you. If you want to find out more about today's episode, go to trstimson.com/podcast, where you'll find the show notes, related links, and tons of other valuable resources. If you haven't already subscribed to the Intentional Success Podcast, please do so, and I'd greatly appreciate if you would rate and review the show. Also, if you think you might be a good fit to work together or want more information about the Stimson Group, I'd love to hear from you. Visit trstimson.com for more information.